Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Saturday morning new distributor training for Zeej International. My name is Fred Holmes. My privilege to be the trainer this morning, and welcome to all of you. Welcome to my home office. I always like to point out that you can pretty much build a Zeej business in any format or methodology that fits your life. For me, frankly, being able to do business from my home, and today, I mean, 99% of what I do to build my Zeej business is done just like this. You know, either on the telephone, really migrating a lot to video conferencing. The beauty of being able to have a home-based business, control what happens in your life, build your Zeej business around your life. These are all many of the benefits of a home-based business. And so as we're having people join us here, want to take a couple of minutes and welcome all of you. In particular, I want to welcome those of you that are brand new distributors. Maybe this is your first new distributor training for Saturday morning. Certainly welcome to all of you. I see a number of our field leaders have joined us as well. Let's see here. And actually what's really kind of exciting to me is to see, well, I don't get to see you. I can see the names of the people that have enrolled. I always like to mention that. I had somebody get real upset that they were on the webinar and they thought that I could see them. I don't know if they were in the bathrobe or whatever. But no, I can't really see you. I can just see the name that you've logged in with. And so a couple of things I want to do before we get into this morning's training. For those of you, especially those of you that maybe are just getting started with Zeej, or this is your first new distributor training, understand that this particular event, this broadcast on Saturday morning, this is in addition to what I call the foundational elements of new distributor training. One of the things that was shared to me over 30 years ago now. It's been, I believe, 33 years, I think. You lose track after a few decades. I left my previous career as a cross-country truck driver to get involved in this profession of network marketing, home-based business, you know, person-to-person marketing, relationship marketing, multi-level marketing. There's many terms that we use for this, but it's, you know, it's entrepreneurism in its most pure form. Aloha, Gina. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome back to the island. Yep, and the many years ago when I first started in this business, I attended my first Saturday morning training, and in that training, what I was given in a relatively short period of time were the foundational elements of creating a successful network marketing or multi-level marketing business. And I have provided that on my YouTube channel. What I believe is most important is not to continue to say the same thing over and over, but rather use this venue, our ongoing Saturday morning new distributor training, as a way to build upon that. So if you have your notes, and I encourage you to have your notes, I always have my journal with me. This was one of the most important things that I recognized early on, is that while this is a simple business, there's clearly a difference between the person that makes, you know, $100 a month versus $100 a week versus $100 a day versus $100 an hour, okay? While we all do the same thing, there's certainly a difference between somebody that's producing supplemental income versus full-time income versus, you know, life-changing income. And so it was important in the early days for me to start gathering that information. Now, in the early days, I didn't have these fancy journals like I have today. You know, they were spiral-bound notebooks, you know, the ones you can get for, like, well, back then I think they were like $2 for $1 or something like that. Now they're probably $2 for one. I don't know. Today I've got these really nice journals, right? This one is comes from Jim Rohn. leather bound. It's got the little, place marker ribbon thing, little gold edges like your Bible and stuff. But they weren't always this fancy. The whole point is to start to archive this information. Now, I encourage you to write this down in your notes if you haven't done so already. I have a YouTube channel. The address is youtube.com/Fred Holmes Zija. Remember, Holmes is Holmes, Fred Holmes Zija. So youtube.com/Fred Holmes Zija. When you go to that YouTube channel, I'm encouraging you to subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified whenever there's a new training, a new presentation, whatever being posted to the channel. When you go to that channel, you'll see archived all of the, the Biz Talks presentations, Saturday morning trainings of previous Saturdays, but you'll also see a link for playlists. Now, there's only one playlist on the YouTube channel. It is what I call the New Distributor Training and Fast Start Training. There are 4 videos. The first one is 30 minutes long. It is what I call that an original New Distributor Training. It's what we do and how we do it. And I really, really think that if you take the time to watch that 30-minute video, it's going to really help you understand what our business model is all about. Now, there's 3 additional little videos. They're about 10 minutes apiece. So if you will, another 30 minutes of training. And those 3 videos encompass what I call the Fast Start Training. So you have New Distributor Training, what we do and how we do it, and then the 3 additional little videos, how to get off to a fast start, how to, develop your prospect list, how to focus on a daily method of operation, the 90-day game plan. And I want to share with you, hopefully to kind of incentivize you to look at this, what I share on those little videos, and a couple of them are actually, maybe a year and a half old now or what have you. The information I share with you on that is exactly what I know and what I was taught years ago and what I did when I started with Zija. The day I started with Zija, the #1 advantage I had is not what people think. It wasn't that I had a huge contact list of network marketers. I'd been out of the industry. I'd been retired for a number of years. It wasn't that I had, a huge database of people to contact. I'd actually spent the previous 6 years before Zija, my life was very, very small. I was raising my grandson. My circle of influence had kind of dwindled down to 3 people. My son, my grandson, and Tickle Me Elmo. That was really my warm market, my immediate contact base. The advantage that I had when I started with Zija was that I already knew what to do. And in a really short period of time, if you watch those little videos, you will know what I knew the day I started with Zija. So encourage you to get that underneath your belt. Get up to speed. Utilize the Saturday morning New Distributor trainings that we're producing on an ongoing basis to augment, add to, and if you will, fill in the areas that you're going to want to learn about and that sort of thing. Now, today's topic, we're always going to have something a little bit different. Today actually came out of a conversation I had with David Moses. Some of you are familiar with that name. If you've been around for a while, if you've been around for any period of time in Zija, you should know David Moses. David Moses is our top income earner. Okay, David Moses comes to Zija with decades of high-level experience in the industry. I can't, I will share this with you. Okay, prior to Zija, I was already a documented 7-figure income earner in the industry. I already had been there and done that. And frankly, I've learned more about high-level leadership and those concepts from the time I've been with Zija and working with David Moses. Some of you may know David's my personal sponsor. I didn't need to have somebody like David Moses to be my sponsor the day I started. I already knew what to do, but I have learned a tremendous amount from David Moses. He's done more for me in my personal development than I could possibly ever repay him for. Today's training comes out of a conversation that we had earlier this week, talking about the things that made the biggest difference in our success. His success prior to Zija, my success prior to Zija, and then ongoing during this time that we've had with Zija. And what I want to talk about, and you may want to, get your notes going here, one of the foundational concepts for success, and this doesn't just apply to network marketing or Zija, this applies to any endeavor, let's talk specifically any business endeavor, is DMO, daily method of operation. And this is something that's really important to understand because the vast majority of people in the Western world work for somebody else. I've heard, 95% of people work for the 5% that have businesses. Now, if you understand that what we have in Zija International is a business, it is entrepreneurship in its most pure form, one of the challenges we have is we're asking 95% of the people that will get involved in our business to be able to do what only 5% of the population does, which is run a business. I've often called it the self-employment mentality. It's kind of unique in that we're asking everybody to do something they're completely unfamiliar with. Now, as an employee, and contrary to popular belief, I used to have a job. I'm actually not a very good employee, but I used to have a job. And when I say I'm not a good employee, I would be the guy that would want to hire me. Okay, if I had a business, I'd want to hire Fred Holmes because I'm the guy that a business owner is looking for, but I didn't fit well in the environments of most types of jobs. When I worked with the county, I got to tell you, it was not a pretty thing. See, here's what the problem was working with the county. The county expected me to show up for work at 8 o'clock in the morning and get working. I always thought that was kind of silly because honestly, I wasn't worth a hot damn until, can I say that? Hot damn? I wasn't worth a hot damn until at least 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. Then, here's the other thing that was kind of funny, is they wanted me to leave work at 5 when I just had a good head of steam up. I was on a roll. Why make me leave at 5? Here was the other thing that was really a problem. They wanted me to do things that didn't make any sense because they were not focused on the delivery of the services that I thought we were supposed to do. And it took me a long time to understand this. The larger the business, the larger the bureaucracy, the more this comes into play. The number one focus of the bureaucracy is not providing the services to the clients. It is the maintenance of the bureaucracy. My bosses hated me because I always wanted to do more, do it faster, do it better, and in the process of doing so, I threatened their job. Okay, so I just didn't work out real well. Where I worked out really well was driving trucks because I focused on the elements I thought I was supposed to do. Get the load delivered on time, make the customer happy, maintain the equipment, and be able to do it again and again and again. Okay, those are the things that I was told was important to do. And in that environment, because I didn't have a boss over my shoulders all the time, I did really well. And so without realizing it, I had already developed the skill sets of being self-employed. But here's the challenges we have. Most people that are employed by somebody else, and our educational system almost sets this up to be the situation. Most people have a job. They know what time they're supposed to show up for work because the boss told them. They know what they're supposed to do at work because the boss told them. They know when to take their break. They know when to take their lunch. They know when to go home. And what's really interesting is they are not held accountable for their own productivity, except for once every 6 months or once every year during their employee performance report. Now, let's contrast that with business owners. Business owners have to make a decision when to show up for work, when to open up the doors in the store. Business owners have to decide what their activities are going to be throughout the day. They are the ones that have to monitor their numbers on an ongoing basis to see how the productivity is. If you're selling, 3 different widgets at your store, one of them sells really well and is a high, profitability item, then you're going to put more energy into promoting that widget. The other 2 widgets don't sell well. You lose money on them. You don't want to keep trying to push all 3 widgets at the same level of intensity, because one of them is going to make you a lot of money, the other 2 isn't. Business owners have to do all of that. That's why, by the way, if you look at Zege International and any multi-level company, but Zege in particular, people that are already self-employed, whether it be as a business owner or maybe they're self-employed in real estate sales or insurance sales, or they're an independent contractor or whatever, they tend to do better, and they tend to do better more quickly because they already understand these concepts. So what we need to do as a team, we need to share with the 95%ers how to be successful in business, because nobody teaches that. I mean, think about the educational system. Children are taught what time to show up for school. They're taught that somebody else will tell them what to do as soon as they get to their first period class, their homeroom or whatever. They are told when to take the break, where to take the break, when to do lunch, where to do lunch, and when to go home. Okay, everything is done for them, and then quarterly they get a report card to then tell them how their performance has been. It's almost like the educational system is designed to create employees and not designed to teach entrepreneurism. Now, one last thing, and I just want to share this with you because it'll kind of make most of what I'm about to say really significant. 95% of the world works for 5% of the world, and 95% of the wealth of the world is controlled by those 5%. Now, there's a whole segment of the population out there that says, well, that's not fair, that's not right, we need to do something about it. Folks, there's nothing you can do about it, okay? It's just called human nature. It is the way things are. You cannot change the way things are at this level. What you can do is make a decision. Do you want to be part of the 95%? The 95% that work for somebody else, where one person controls your 100% of your income and 100% of your free time and 100% of your future? Or do you want to be part of the 5%? And I hear this over and over, well, if I was part of that group, I'd change things. Do it. Become part of the top 5% and change the world. I have, okay? And I'm not going to talk about all the things I do. I'm just telling you right now that what I've been able to accomplish financially has not been just for me. There are many, many other people that have benefited from that. I believe that if you have that faith, that belief that you can succeed, the value of success is not the money. The value of the success is what you do for others with the money. And forgive me, I'll climb back off my horse right now, my pedestal, my soapbox. Let's get back on track. Yeah. Yes, this is live and this is uncut. Daily method of operation. This is what we need to teach the 95% because it's not being taught anyplace else. Okay, we need to teach people self-employment philosophy, self-employment activities, self-employment mindset. And it comes down to a daily method of operation. And you talk to any high-level earner, in our profession, they will tell you that the number one thing that they did that made a difference in their success was when they established a daily method of operation. And I've talked about this at different times, but I want to put a little different bent on it. If you understand what it is we do, okay, this is all we do in our business. We share our product, we share our opportunity, and we teach others to do the same. If you understand that's all we do, that's the only things we get paid for, then you're going to want to put all of your time and attention into those activities. Okay, all of your, all the other things that can occupy our time, reading, the latest promotional, blurb, studying the products, learning how to say lang lang, the oil. I don't know how to say that. But all those things, understanding the compensation plan, being a whiz-bang person at the back office and knowing how to pull reports and all. By the way, none of that is share the product, share the opportunity, and teach others to do the same. When somebody says, well, Fred, how can I share the product if I'm not knowledgeable about the product? Folks, you didn't hear my Saturday morning new distributor training on the playlist, because I talk specifically about how to share the product, and having product knowledge beyond your own personal results is not a component. Okay, well, how can I share the opportunity if I don't understand the compensation plan? All that means is you didn't listen to my new distributor training, the first video, the 30-minute video on the playlist. Okay, because understanding the compensation plan has nothing to do with it. Okay, sharing the opportunity has everything to do with sharing your story and the stories of others. Okay, knowing the compensation plan will come naturally as you start to figure out where'd that paycheck come from. Okay, that and I still got people that call me up, Fred, I got this money, where'd that come from? What difference does it make? Okay, the Zija computer knows where to pay you. All right, so the only things that make any difference in creating income, and be clear about this, if you're in business, the objective should be to create income. Share the product, share the opportunity, teach others to do the same. Now, there is one more component to a daily method of operation, and this came into play when in the conversation I had with David. And I've talked about this in the past, but I felt today, especially as we're literally, about 120 days away from the launch of Zija 2.0, how much more important it is today than ever before. The other component to the daily method of operation and the focus that I want to have for today should be included in there, your personal development. You should be allocating time to personal development. And this came out of the conversation I had with David. And actually, it goes back to a conversation we had pretty early on. It was in that first year that we were building Zija together. David had joined a few months before I started Zija. And when we had opportunities to actually just sit down and spend time together, it used to be pretty late. It was like, it'd be like, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, my time here in California, which meant it was like, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning in Toronto. And one night we were visiting, and he asked me this question. He said, Fred, if you were on a desert island, stranded on a desert island, and you could only have 3 personal development books, what would they be? And I knew Dave was asking the question for a reason. And I thought about it, and I said, well, David, the first one's pretty easy. It would probably be Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And, he paused for a moment. He goes, very good. What would the second one be? And I thought about that, and he said, and I finally, after thinking about it, I said, well, probably the second one would be James Allen's book, As a Man Thinketh. And it was a little bit longer pause. And then he just, said, very good. And what would be the third one? And I had to think about that one a little bit longer. I said, it would probably be Og Mandino's book, The Greatest Secret in the World. And David didn't say anything. I mean, I thought the line had, we'd been, disconnected. And he finally said something akin to that, that's interesting because that would be the same 3 books that I would have picked and in the same order. Now, I'm not saying that to say that, I'm David Moses, because I am not. Okay, I'm just going to be real clear about that. David has skill sets and abilities that that I don't have. All right. However, that is a clue. When you take somebody who is the most successful distributor in Zija, and then you take myself, and I'm not saying I'm the end all, but I've done really well. Okay, I've done really well. Ken gave me the Rolex to prove it, right? When you have 2 people that agree upon those elements, personal development, and that that's similar, that's got to be a clue. And so what I'm sharing with you is that the concept of a daily method of operation, and I'll take a minute and I'll talk about how to set that up. But if you want to be truly successful in your Zija business, it's not just share the product, share the opportunity, teach others to do the same, but you also have to be working on yourself. Okay, that is absolutely critical, and here's why. Pardon me, I'm just being a little distracted with the noise in the background. It's imperative that you understand that your personal development is foundational to being able to be successful with the other 3 things of a daily method of operation. And it's real simple. I actually had this conversation with my very first sponsor, really honed in, really fine-tuned this concept of personal development. He asked me what my goal was at the time, as I understood it, and this is back in the mid-'80s. As I understood it, success was making, $10,000 a month, $100,000 a year. I thought that was success, as I understood it at the time. And he said, and how much are you accustomed to making? And I told him, $35,000 a year as a truck driver, and that was good money. That's $1985, $86. That was really good money. And he said, well, you got a problem because you're not worth $100,000 a year. And I took great offense to that. I thought it was rude, and I thought I was worth $100,000 a year. And the comment he made really sunk in. He said, Fred, if you were worth $100,000 a year, you'd be making $100,000 a year. And then he introduced me to Jim Rohn. Okay, Jim Rohn is Jim is passed now, but he is like, the mentor to the mentors. All right, every one of the top personal development speakers in the world will reference Jim Rohn as being their mentor. And one of the things that Jim Rohn said is that you can always have more because you can become more through personal development. And I know, at one time I was one of those people who said, oh, that whole personal development, motivational, self-improvement stuff is all that, just that fluffy stuff, right? Say your goals, put them on the mirror, put them on your forehead, whatever. And it's dismissed by a lot of people. Here's the problem. If you look at the people that dismiss personal development, self-improvement, motivational speakers as being fluff, they are not successful. You will never hear a truly successful person dismiss personal development as not being a significant issue. Success leaves clues. If the most successful people are reading books you've never heard of, and you would desire their success, you might want to start reading the books they read. That one I figured out real fast when I first started in this kind of business. So when you set up your daily method of operation, and here's the how-to portion, okay? The night before you go to bed, I encourage you to identify 5 or 6 things that will make a material difference in your business the following day. And what should those 5 or 6 things be? They should be: share the product, share the opportunity, teach others to do the same, and invest in your personal development. Identify what those might be. You might write down, well, I'm going to call Jim and tell him about the product. I'm going to call Mary Lou and tell her about the business. I'm going to follow up on Bob from yesterday's call. I'm going to allocate 30 minutes in the morning, for instance, to listening to the first half of Jim Rohn's audio training on how to build your network marketing business. Or I'm going to read the next chapter in The Greatest Secret in the World. Whatever it is that you're using as your personal development, and I include in there skill sets development and kind of the same thing, right? Because obviously you want to improve your skill set. Once you've identified those 5 or 6 things that would make a material difference in your business, you then commit that to your calendar. Start out by writing down, commit ink to paper, 5 or 6 things that will make a material positive difference in your business the following day. Then calendar those activities. Actually commit to writing when you will do those. Then go to sleep. Okay, do that just before you go to bed. And when you do that, here's one of the interesting things that happens is as you're asleep, since it's the last thing you did before going to sleep, your mind, your subconscious has the opportunity to process that, okay, to set up in your mind the environment for the following day. Then when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to plan your day. You don't have to guess what you're going to do. You've already got in your calendar, I got to be at work at 9 in the morning, but your first phone call to Bob to tell him about the product, that's maybe done at 8:30 as you're driving to work. And you've got your day scheduled. Now, at the end of the day, you do what Jim Rohn calls celebrate or fix. You sit down, you evaluate the numbers. You look at the 5 or 6 things that you had determined would make a material positive difference in your business, and you set them on your calendar. And then you go back and you evaluate your numbers. Did you accomplish the things that you set out to do that day from the night before? And you will do one of 2 things. You will either celebrate or you will fix. Simple as that. If you did them, celebrate. Now, here's a little clue for you. Your celebration should be meaningful, tangible, and create some level of activity. Okay, and I'm not the guy that teaches, neuro-linguistic programming and all that kind of stuff. I'm just telling you what works and what I do. Okay, now for me, here's the celebration. Okay, if I accomplish the 5 or 6 things that I intended to do, then I jump up and I do the dance. I did it. Oh yeah, I'm cool. I did it. Oh yeah, I'm cool. 10 seconds. Okay, meaningful, tangible, active. Okay, for somebody else, it might be, having a, bowl of ice cream before going to bed. I don't necessarily endorse that one. Okay, you can have a bowl of ice cream before going to bed once in a while, but don't do it every day. Okay, whatever it is for you. Okay, meaningful, tangible, active. Now, if you didn't accomplish the 5 or 6 things you'd set out to do, then you're going to have to fix it, so that you don't keep repeating non-productive habits. Now, the fix part is real simple. I mean, this is the part that's the easiest. It's always going to come down to 2 things, 1 of 2 things. To fix the problem, 1 of 2 things. Either number 1, you overestimated your capacity to accomplish within the time frame you allotted. For instance, one of your things, I'm going to reach out to 50 people during my lunch break between noon and 1. Well, chances are you probably aren't going to be able to reach out to 50 people during your lunch break. You overestimated your capacity to accomplish that task within the time that you allotted. That's one area that could be responsible for that. Here's the other area. You didn't follow your schedule. Okay, when you had on your schedule, you were going to follow up on Mary Lou and Bob to see how they were doing with the product after their third day or whatever. You scheduled that during your lunch break. That is reasonable that you could do that within that hour and still get your lunch in. And instead of doing that, one of your friends came by and said, hey, let's go out to the pizza place for lunch. We haven't spent any time together. You know, I miss visiting with you. Don't you like me anymore? Let's go out. And instead of saying, you know, I'd love to do it today, I can't. I've got something on my calendar for my new business. Let's do it tomorrow. Instead of following your calendar, you did not follow what your schedule was, and you went ahead and, you know, went out to the pizza place with your friend, whatever. Okay. You either celebrate your accomplishments, you completed the 5 or 6 things, or you fix. The fix is simple. You either overestimated your capacity to accomplish during the time that you allotted, or you failed to follow your schedule. That's all there is. That's the only reasons. And somebody says, well, you know, what about Fred? You know, you don't understand. I mean, there was an emergency, you know, at lunch. You know, the school called me. My kid fell down. I had to go get the kid, blah, 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 blah. I understand that. That doesn't change anything. You didn't follow your schedule. Okay? Guess what? Things happen. All right? But you didn't follow your schedule. Celebrate or fix. Now, that you do on that first day. And then one last thing before you go to bed, it's rinse and repeat. Sit down, ink with paper, write down 5 or 6 more things that will make a material difference in your business. Share the product, share the opportunity, teach others to do the same, and allotting time for personal development or skill sets development. Write down those things, then calendar those activities and go to bed. Let your subconscious mind set you up for success for the next day. As you wake up, you already know what you're going to do. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you, folks. Nobody ever gets to be a top-level income earner in anything, including network marketing, including ZG International. Nobody gets to do it overnight, okay? It is always going to be an artifact of a consistent daily method of operation, exercising correct activities for a prolonged period of time. Now, if you're doing incorrect activities, I don't care how much you do of that, you're never going to create the success you're looking for. But you know what the correct activities are. Share the product, share the opportunity, teach others to do the same, personal development. Now, on that last item, which is what I wanted to focus on today, folks, personal development is everything. I've often said, okay, today, it's been over 30 years since I drove an 18-wheeler. I could still drive a truck today, but I'm not a truck driver anymore. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? I could still do that, but that's not who I am today. Oftentimes people say, well, you know, Fred, I just can't say the way you say it. I don't have those skills. Folks, I didn't, and I'm certainly not saying I'm the best trainer or the best speaker in the world, because I'm not. I know who those guys are and those gals, okay? I'm not one of them. What you see is 30 years of trying to improve, okay? And guess what? 10 years from now, I'm going to be even better than I am today, all right? At least I hope so. The fact is that everybody can improve, and it's all going to come down to the investment you make in yourself. Now, a couple suggestions. Personal development. Speak to the people that you see as being successful and ask them what they've read. Ask them what they read, because success is always going to leave clues. Personal development and skill sets development. And certainly somebody's going to, you know, pop and say, well, what do you read, Fred? Well, let me give you some suggestions. All right. I mentioned 3 books: Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, The Greatest Secret in the World, which is actually the follow-up to The Greatest Salesman in the World. I think I'd probably read The Greatest Salesman in the World first, because it's faster. So there's a few things to read. skill sets development. One of the books that I think is really, really good for people in our profession to read. The title of the book is called The 45-Second Presentation. It's written by a man, Don Failla, F-A-I-L-L-A. It's what we used to call the 10 paper napkin presentations. Okay, it really is one of the best explanations of what our business model is. You know, I don't teach the 10 paper napkin presentations. I've been teaching the concepts of those 10 paper napkin presentations, you know, ever since I've been in the industry. Now, here's a clue. I review that book probably once a month. Okay, I make that part of my ongoing, you know, monthly preparation for the next cycle, or rather the next period. Here's another one for you. Oh, by the way, let me point something out here. That book, Don Failla's book, you can get used copies of that on Amazon pretty cheaply. Sound Concepts bought up the marketing rights, and they produced an edition here, I think probably 2 years ago, 30th anniversary edition. And you can buy the book and you know, the 2 CDs, you know, audio reading of the book. What ends up happening is most people that buy that, they throw the book on the shelf and they get the audio cassettes out or the audio CDs and listen to them. Here's the problem with that is that's backwards. Okay, I would personally encourage you to throw the CDs somewhere, get out the book, study the book, master the book, and then use the CDs as ongoing spaced repetition. Because what normally happens is people plug in the CD and they're listening to it, they download it on their iPhone or what have you, and they're, you know, in the shower in the morning or brushing their teeth or shaving, driving to work, trying to get the kids breakfast, whatever, and that's going in the background. And folks, that's not learning. Okay, most of that's going to be missed. Study the book and then use the audios for spaced repetition. Now, I'm going to tell you candidly, I'm not a good reader. All right, I mean, that was part of my being a special child, right? Comprehension is great, but I read at the speed of like a third grader. And so reading was never something that I was really good at. So I did invest in the audio cassettes back in the day. I probably have, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6 copies of Think and Grow Rich. I've never read the entire book. Okay, it's just, you know, I can't do it. But I have burned through a couple of sets of the audio cassettes. But when I listen to the audio cassettes, I do it as if it's a class. I sit down, get my journal out, I'll listen to the recording, I'll pause, I'll write a couple of notes, I'll listen again, and I do it, I study it because I hear it better than I can read it. That's just, you know, me being a special kid, right? Here's another one I would really encourage. And if I was brand new, these would be the things I would suggest to me as first ones. You know, the 10 paper napkin presentations, Don Failla's book, the 45-second presentation is the title. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That should be one of the very first things that I would invest time, because the concept out of that book, those concepts help me achieve truly phenomenal success in my previous company. I hit a level in that previous company, national marketing director was the term. It's probably like Diamond Elite in Zija. And I did it in record time. Okay, nobody had ever done it in under a year. I did it in 11 months. Now, I'm not saying, you know, wow, Fred's great. I'm just saying that that book, James Allen's book, helped create that level of success. Another thing, you can find it on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search for Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, and then specifically how to build your network marketing distributorship. You will find several different editions of that. I used to send out the link, but the links disappear periodically because it's a, you know, copyrighted speech. It's It's about an hour long. I would encourage you to make that one of the very first things as you enter your network marketing career. Make that one of the very first things you listen to. Those things, those handful of things, Og Mandino, OG, original gangster, right? OG is his first name, Mandino, M-A-N-Dino, the greatest salesman in the world, okay? That's a pretty quick read. These are the kinds of things that if you speak to any high-level earner, in particular in network marketing, they can tell you when they first were exposed to that, and those were the kinds of things that made the material difference in their business. Once again, as Jim Rohn said, you cannot judge your future from the past. Okay, if you enter this profession, like many of us, as an average person, your past does not dictate your future. You can have more because you can become more through your own personal development and skill sets development. And make no mistake about it, anybody that enters Zija that seems to have some amount of like overnight success, I guarantee you their overnight success was not overnight. What they brought with them was a number of years of focusing on the things that we've been talking about this morning. So with that, I certainly hope that was helpful to you. I apologize in advance for any rants or direction I went off on. You just get that when you get me, right? And I got a couple of moments left, and then I am going to have to drop off before the top of the hour. If you got a question that you'd like to have answered, or a comment or something like that, certainly look for the little chat box there. I'm going to kind of open this thing up and see what we got going here. Any questions? Hello, hello. No sound. Geez, I hope the sound's been going. Looks like Jade Oliver. I hope you were able to hear me. Good morning. Ready for the week. Always great info. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see here. Lauren is so good about doing this stuff. Love the Go Giver by, okay, we got a couple suggestions here. The Go Giver by Bob Berg. Candace Smiley recommended that book. Greatest investment is in you. Hard copy, use a highlighter. Yep, I've, right there it is, right there, always handy. As a Man Thinketh, also just as important for women to read. Who did that? Ellen, yes. As a Man Thinketh was written, I believe, in the early 1920s or mid-1920s. The languaging is a bit archaic. It's a little tough to get through. I tend to do, again, better listening than reading. You don't have to invest a lot of money in this. You can go to YouTube and you can, hear the audio portion of the book. If you go to asamanthinketh.net, that's a group of people. It's a marketing company. They're going to make you sign up for their email list, but they will let you download a PDF copy of that book. But yeah, you're just going to have to, that was pretty funny. Yes, it's also as a woman thinketh, right? It's why today Napoleon Hill said, what a man can conceive and believe can be achieved. I've changed that to what the mind can conceive and believe can be achieved, because it works for women too. All right, what else? As a Man Thinketh. Well, good, Mary. I'm glad to hear that. One of the things that I learned a long time ago, and whenever I speak in public, I'm the speaker, the trainer, whatever, I always take a moment before I get on stage. You know, a lot of people don't get this. That's not something I'm real comfortable with. I don't do real well in front of large groups of people. Large groups of people, by definition, is more than a soccer team. Okay, I could handle speaking to my kids' soccer team, but if you get more than, you know, 9, 10, 11 people, I'm not real comfortable with that. But I always take a moment, say a little prayer, and ask that whatever it is I say, that it is something that somebody needed to hear. And Mary, you must have been the person I did this for, because you need to hear that today. DMO. I've got some new people listening. Well, Candace, either you're welcome or my apologies, depending on how they reacted to this. Let's see. Awesome breakdown delivery. Now put it into practice. David, that's always the key. You know, we can learn anything. It's what we do with it. And let me just do a little add on there. Folks, once you get involved in personal development, for many of you, it is going to be so intriguing, the things you learn about yourself, that it almost becomes addictive. Be very clear on this. Nobody creates high-level success because of personal development. It's because of what the personal development has done to you, and then you then have to put it into action. Don't forget the other 3 things that make a difference. Share the product, share the opportunity, teach others to do the same. Well, good. Alexis, thank you very much for saying that. Rebecca, at a certain time during your presentation, there was some interference, but I didn't get to that. That's why I was going to make it. It went well. Okay, there was some interference. Well, we'll have to go see what it was. I'm going to mention it. Art of Significance by Dan Clark. I like Dan Clark. You know, Dan Clark speaks to my listening. Let's see, Team 101 by John Maxwell. I like John Maxwell as well. Personal development. Thank you, Lila. And all right, I don't see anything, any other questions here, folks. Again, appreciate you attending. I hope that this has been of value to you. Certainly, you know, I want you to feel that the time that you spent with me was of value. I am going to be posting this to the YouTube channel here a little bit later on today. So if you had people that you wanted to be part of this, it'll be on there. With that, I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll see you, upcoming week's events. Episode 6 on Monday of David Moses' 8-week session. That's right, episode 6 of David's 8-week section. You know, the up-to-date ZG University. Powerful stuff, folks. If you haven't been listening to David's Monday night sessions on Facebook Live, you need to go back and listen to them. I mean, you know, we've got to find a way to archive this because it's magical stuff. Wednesday evening, Health Talks with Pat Anderson, 9:30 Eastern on her channel or on her website, clubmoringa.com. Thursday night, I'll be doing Biz Talks. Actually, my guest on Biz Talks is going to be Yuri Radsky. For those of you that don't know Yuri, he's one of ZJ's top income earners. He's kind of a quiet fella, kind of works in the background, builds his business from home. I'm going to say probably 80% of Japan is under Yuri. He's got decades of experience in network marketing. You're going to want to be part of that. Then Saturday morning, we'll be right back here again Saturday morning with a new topic for new distributor training. With that, thanks for joining us, folks. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm going to try and do the beach today. Finally warmed up enough to do the beach. All right. See y'all later. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.